Alright, you guys asked for it, so here we are again. I'm looking at the Play Avengers subreddit and looking at the ideas and talking about what I think about them. Let's fucking go. And if you particularly like any of these ideas, please take a look in the description. All of the links to all of the posts will be down there. First up, we've got a Destiny-style hub area where you can run around and just see your fellow players running around, and I love it. In the post, they proposition Avengers Tower as a hub, and I love that idea. The only problem with that is that the Avengers have to somehow get Avengers Tower back from AIM, which I think should be reasonable now, but I don't know. The story's kind of confusing. I think for them to introduce Avengers Tower, they need to find a story reason to do so, and obviously we've seen that it existed prior to A-Day in this fucking shot here, so I would love if they reintroduced Avengers Tower and we got like an official Avengers base that isn't the Chimera. And because this game has timey-wimey bullshit and multiverse bullshit, we could totally see alternate versions of the characters running around and chillin', vibing, all that shit. It's all about just finding a good narrative reason to implement this sort of thing, and I'm 100% on board, but that is the hard part. Also, of course, having to implement the netcode to have this work is a bit of a blocker. What I mean by that is currently you can have 4 people in a squad and that's perfectly fine, but when you start to increase those numbers, you might run into issues, you might have to get bigger servers, like there's lots of steps that goes into creating a hub like this, so it's not a small job. But I love the idea and I'd love to see something like this down the line. Next up, we've got a piece of gear that removes the Hulk belly flop attack from the video game, and I see a lot of people actually complain, even though this post is obviously a bit of a meme, that the belly flop attack is absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and that's a fair thing to think. Should they replace it with a much more hulky, strong, punchy attack? He doesn't have very many of those. It would be kind of nice, maybe. I don't know. Give the boy Hulk a little more oomph. I could see it. I think that would make a lot of people happy, but also, you know, come on, look at the belly flop. It's kind of fucking hilarious. I don't know what to tell you. Or maybe you make a piece of gear exactly like this one with the clown outfit that lets you belly flop and you replace it with something that's more cool, more effective, more, you know, true to the character. I don't know, man. This post is a little bit of a meme to the fact that CD hasn't implemented some basic shit yet, and this person is pointing out that there should be an emote wheel in the game, and I agree, there should in fact be an emote wheel in the game. Now, why isn't there an emote wheel in the game? I saw a comment on this post, the top one, that says, oh, because there isn't enough emotes to give you an emote wheel, and maybe that is true. Maybe it's because you have to pay for them or earn them through the battle pass. So most people probably will only have one emote that is any good anyway, right? But there is no real downside to giving your players autonomy in allowing them to, you know, customize their looks as much as they really want to, except for in a game where that's the whole business model. So to me personally, even with a small amount of potential emotes or whatever the issues that they may have with it, I would still love to see this, and I don't think it's the hardest thing to implement. Of course, it's new UI and like the ability to actually equip multiple of those at the same time, but I still would love to see it. So next up, I want to talk about a few posts from the same user, and I'm really sorry if I butcher your name, but I know I'll get the first part right. Wolverine Kuzuri. This user posted multiple mock-ups of what it might look like for various characters to be introduced into the game, and I really like them, so you should go check them out. These posts actually so inspired me that I have to talk about who I think is going to be in the game next, but that's going to be its own video, so keep an eye out for that. Maybe hit subscribe to be notified of when that comes out, you know? Maybe 90% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and that's kind of like a crazy high number. I'd appreciate it if you did. So this next post is basically a concept of what Loki being introduced would look like for basic enemies running around, and I think it's really well put together, and I think it's really cool. The various enemies that could link up to enemies we already have, beautifully done, really awesome. This is more than just, oh, this would be cool. This is, I put some serious thought in, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. It is so cool. And I gotta say, as far as loose threads go from that main initial launch content that they provided us, this is the one I would love to see come back the most. Loki has always been an incredible villain. With what's going on right now in the MCU and the Loki series, there is not a better time to try and captivate an audience with that character. Loki is so cool, and this would be such a good addition to the video game, and since he's already been teased through Thor's iconic mission, it would really just fit with the world. I fucking love it. CD, fucking take a look at these concepts and maybe use them genuinely. This is awesome. But of course, because Loki is main villain material, I don't think we'll see this for a long time, and I have a theory as to why, and that's because I also have a theory on who the next villain is. Hint, hint, wink, with nudge, nudge in future video. It's probably Ultron, but I'll go into that later. This next post serves as kind of a wish list as to what kind of areas this person would like to see in the future. This person goes with the Savage Land, and that would be pretty neat. And if you don't know, the Savage Land is basically a point in the Antarctic that is away from time and is prehistoric in nature. Fighting dinos in this game would be kind of rad as fuck, I'm not gonna lie. As for me personally, I would love to see like the Hell Dimension. Show me some Ghost Rider, some Dormammu, some Mephisto type shit. That would be cool. Let me know what you guys think and what kind of areas you would like to see in the future. This person believes that Iron Man would be a lot more fun if his repulsors did not drain his intrinsic energy and they were basically just infinite ammo. And I agree with this to a degree, and I want to go into why. Having his repulsors be basically infinite, I think nobody would use melee ever. I think it makes the character a little bit weirder. I'm not going to say weaker or stronger, just weirder. The mechanical reason as to why that happens is so that you have a reason to be forced into melee combat. Of course, people would still punchy because it's part of the character, but there's less incentive to do so, and I think you would see melee combat drop off a massive amount. But I totally understand why this person feels this way, and still giving intrinsic value to, you know, the lasers and the rockets. I understand where they're coming from, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think it would require more thought, and it would probably be more of a rework for the Iron Man character, and there would be more involved than just changing this one thing. He is the only character with this kind of limitation, but I feel like it is important to his playstyle. Because he is a flyer, he has less reason to get into melee combat than most other characters. Thor can't just sit up in the air and shoot down at people, and it's a little more complicated because he has to throw the hammer and then summon it back and then throw it again and then summon it back, so it's not as viable. That's obviously just my opinion, and if you disagree, that's totally fine. Next up, we've got this post asking for the zipline mechanic that you use as Miss Marvel one time in the campaign to be added to the main game. And I totally agree. This feels like a total waste for this mechanic to never be used again. I was recently replaying the campaign on my PS5 because I just got the collector's edition, and I saw lots of stuff like this that basically was just never used again, and I was like, well, that feels like a total missed opportunity. This would really help movement around the map as characters that cannot fly, such as, you know, Miss Marvel and Black Widow and Hawkeye. Hawkeye swinging with the bow on the thing, ooh, that'd be so fucking cool. That'd be so thematic. And even if like you let Hulk just like hand it, that'd be kind of sick as shit. I don't know, man. I don't see a reason why this isn't in the main game already. This person made a wish list of villains they'd like to see added to the game, and I love that, especially because there's such a drought of them at the moment. I cannot agree more. I would love to see more villains added to the game, more villains to fight, more boss fights. All of that stuff is super necessary in my opinion. Especially Yelena Belova. She's like a no-brainer. She's been teased. She should just be here already. And as I said earlier, a big one for me is Loki, and also Ultron is probably going to be coming down the pipeline, and I'll get into that in a later video. But some smaller ones that I just love to see around every once in a while are people like fucking Crossbones. That would be rad as shit. Throw in some small-time Iron Man villains. Throw in the Living Laser. Throw in Crimson Dynamo. Throw in Whiplash. These would be really cool little boss fights. Marvel lore is so rich and so deep that it feels like an offense that there aren't at least some of these characters in there already. Just some. I'm not asking for a lot, but some. Please, Crystal Dynamics, just please. Click on another video maybe, maybe stick around and hang out. I'd appreciate you. I do this monthly, so subscribe if you want to be notified the next time one of these comes out. Thank you for watching. Follow me on all social media platforms. Please, if you're interested in what I make, I talk a lot about Marvel, and I talk a lot about video games. So if that is interesting to you, stick around anymore.